Everyone looks at this painting and sees a powerful act of vengeance, but they fail to notice the one detail that changes everything about the narrative. Look closely at the hands of Judith. They are not just holding the sword. They are positioned with the cold precision of a professional executioner. This is not merely a scene of biblical rage. It is a calculated act of survival, painted by a woman who knew exactly what true betrayal felt like. While the world focused on the blood spilling across the sheets, they missed the reflection in the corner. If you zoom in on the hilt of the sword, you will see a distortion that defies the laws of optics. This is not an accident of the brush. It is a signature of trauma etched into the canvas. Many scholars debate the ferocity of the strike, but they ignore the subtle tension in Judith's shoulders. It is the posture of a woman who is not just killing a tyrant, but reclaiming her own agency from a past that sought to break her. We are witnessing a moment of transformation, where art becomes a weapon. Observe how the light hits her face. It is not illuminating victory, but rather the heavy cost of liberation. The shadows are not just background elements. They are the silent witnesses to a crime that the world refused to prosecute. There is a specific angle in the composition that draws your eye directly to the neck of Holofernes. And that is where the true mystery begins. It is not the act of killing that defines this painting. It is the absolute lack of hesitation in the eyes of the subject. But the deeper we dive into the shadows of this canvas, the more we realize that Artemisia was hiding a shattering truth in plain sight. Look at the maidservant Abra. In every other version of this story, the maid waits outside, but here, she is an active accomplice. Her hands are pressing down on the chest of a giant with a strength that defies her small frame. This is the first layer of the secret. This is not a solo act of heroism. It is a pact of sisterhood, forged in blood. Notice the way the blood sprays. It is not a chaotic mess. It follows a mathematical trajectory that mimics the fountain at the Via d'Este. Artemisia was not just painting a scene. She was proving her mastery of physics to a male-dominated academy that doubted her intellect. Now look at the jewelry. The bracelet on Judith's arm depicts Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. This is a meta-commentary by the artist. She is signaling that she is the hunter, and the society that wronged her is the prey. Every stroke of the brush was a strike against her rapist, Agostino Tassi. The man dying on the bed is not just a general from an ancient text. He bears the exact facial features of the man who stole her innocence. This was her courtroom, her verdict, and her execution. The velvet red of the blanket is not just a color. It is a sea of internal rage that consumed her for years before it finally touched the canvas. Look at the struggle in Holofernes' hand. He is grasping at the air as if trying to hold on to a life that was already forfeit the moment she entered the room. The final secret is perhaps the most chilling of all. If you look at the angle of the sword, it forms a perfect cross with the vertical line of the arms. Artemisia was turning a murder into a sacrament. She was reclaiming the divine right to seek justice when the laws of men failed her. But look at the very edge of the canvas, where the light fades into absolute void. There is a faint outline of a shadow that doesn't belong to any of the three figures. Some believe it represents the shadow of the viewer, making us silent accomplices to the act. We are not just watching a painting, we are standing in that dark room, breathing the same copper-scented air. The brilliance of this work lies in its defiance. While other artists painted Judith as a seductive temptress, Artemisia painted her as a warrior in a yellow dress, the color of sovereignty and power. She chose to depict the most gruesome moment of the story, not for shock value, but to ensure that the world could never look away from her pain again. As you stare into the eyes of Holofernes one last time, realize that his fear is not of death, but of the reckoning he never saw coming. Artemisia Gentileschi did not just paint a masterpiece. She survived her own tragedy by immortalizing it in oil and pigment. The Gallery of Shadows reminds you that sometimes the most beautiful things are born from the darkest truths. The sword has fallen, the debt is paid, and the canvas remains as a permanent warning to those who mistake silence for weakness.